Hello, I'm John Hayford and welcome to my presentation, which is a critical review of the paper titled Insider Threat Risk Prediction based on Bayesian Network. These are the contents that will be presented in this presentation. This critical review's main purpose is to summarize and critique the method and technique presented by the authors, along with evaluating the research presented in the paper and discuss how relevant their proposed solution is to already pre-existing techniques of detecting insider threats. The authors of the paper highlights the impact of insider crime and the challenges of preventing such threats to occur in the first place. They explore the various ways insider threat incidents occur in an organization and the current standard technical and non-technical methods of detecting insider threats, along with how effective the methods are. The authors propose an insider threat risk prediction based on Bayesian network, which aims to detect the risk before any damaging action is taken by an insider. The authors who contributed to the paper are well educated in working in the education industry and have published papers related to cybersecurity. In the paper, the authors define an insider as a trusted individual with either malicious or non-malicious intent who is either currently affiliated with the organization or has or had legitimate authorized access to the organization's IT assets. A threat is defined as anything that can potentially cause damage to the organization's IT systems or impact them negatively on the information security aspects. Currently, industry standard technical controls such as intrusion detection systems, security information and event management, data loss prevention, honey tokens, and access controls are designed to prevent attacks from unauthorized users from outside the organization. Of course, these tools can also be used to identify and mitigate the insider threat. The authors emphasize these technical controls in the paper. The current threat mitigation approach, non-technical. One of the most important approaches presented in this category is by the authors is the security and awareness in cybersecurity and awareness training. This is not surprising as the authors and others in the industry perceive humans as the weakest link in the security protocol. Untrained employees are an issue of insider cybercrime. This approach is favorable to the organization and employees, as when employees are aware of the risks and damages of potential inside threats, they are most likely to avoid it. Also, another approach to the insider threat is for organizations to take affirmative actions and create or update policies on insider threats and enforce it. This is one of the strengths of the paper, as the technical and non-technical approaches are presented and explained in a clear and concise manner. This allows the readers to understand the current insider threat mitigation methods used in the industry. Proposed method, technological aspects. The authors the authors predicted the authors collected information about the organization's security measures and uh, categorized the information into three categories with the purpose of measuring the levels of in the technological factors. The the categories were investment balance, detection level, and security and privacy control. Proposed method: organizational impact. Finding the issues might increase the finding issues that might increase the risk of insider threats is important in any organization. The authors collected information to measure the levels of organizational aspects in on the organizational aspect level in four categories: security breaches, structure, security protocols, and employee work related. symptoms. Proposed method, human factors. Opportunity, motivation, and capability are the three factors that the authors present relating to the human factors, which are required before a malicious insider abuses their privilege. These three factors are common and important to take into consideration when tackling insider threat. The following assumptions are is how the organization, the authors designed the module to calculate the level of these three factors, which are motivation, opportunity, and capability. This is the proposed framework model for the insider threat prediction. It is quite detailed and easy to follow and interpret. The authors had 3 stages of implementing the framework module from the previous slide. The first stage being network construction. At this first stage, using the Bayes server software, which is a tool used to model Bayes network. They used it to construct the network graph and model based on the conceptual model from the previous slide, which was experimentally made. It made it possible to have nodes which have conditional relationship between them linked. Nodes that did not have this relationship were considered as conditionally independent. Each link was directed from parent to child node. Each node had conditional probability tables which describe the conditional probability of the underlying variable condition on its parent. This image shows part of the network model in relation to human factor. In this image, the human factor node is the parent node for the motive node, and the end nodes will represent the collected data input with a single value. At the second stage, which is estimated conditional probabilities, once all the nodes created are linked, and linked appropriately, the authors determine conditional probabilities to each random variable in the network. The authors had 2 ways of setting conditional probabilities. The first way was through recent research publications, which from their research found that 82% of malicious insider crimes were committed by males and the rest by females. And the author set the conditional probability accordingly, as seen in the image below the slide. Where evidence or research publication is not available, the authors manually set the conditional probability based on their empirical experience. An example of this is below the slide, where the image shows the estimated conditional probability of the access node in the human factor. At the last stage of the 3-stage is risk output. The risk output. At this final stage, the purpose here is to measure the effect of the random variables on each internal node until one arrives at the central node. The authors called this the insider threat prediction. Using the algorithm, the probability of an insider threat given the human factor, organizational impact, technological aspects can be calculated. The algorithm is based on the Bayesian theory, which is quite explained well in the paper. The risk levels were divided into 5 bands in order to make a comprehensive result. The 5 bands were certain, likely, possible, unlikely, and rare. This is the algorithm used by the authors to compute the risk prediction results. The authors collected information needed from 2 organizations. One organization was from the education sector, and the other a small enterprise business. Both organizations were based in the United Kingdom. This is a small sample size to conduct research, as the survey's result sample will not be very diverse. The author's methodology, however, can be repeated for other organizations which will fit their requirements much better. After obtaining the required data, the authors had a three-step process in data processing and exploitation, as illustrated in the image below. The three steps were data organizing, data processing, and exploratory data analysis. In the result for technological aspects. In the technological factor prediction, the authors had 4 different risk levels based on the organization's performance, aimed at measuring and detecting potential insider threats. These are the four risk levels, respectively, from high to low. The authors report that the proposed module predicted for the organization from the education sector a moderate performance and low focus on insider threats. As for the small enterprise business, the model predicted a low performance and no focus on insider threats. They also present key reasons why the model predicted these levels, such as no attention from top management regarding the insider threat and no training or awareness to authorized users. Result on organizational impact. The model predicted a neutral environment for both organizations. Interestingly, the organization in the education sector had no insider security breaches in the last 5 years. However, the small enterprise business had at least one breach of such kind, but it's not presented in this paper, which is understandable. An interesting case in the result is case number 20, which predicted a 45 probability of being unlikely to be an insider threat and a 44% probability of being a possible threat. The authors recommended a security analyst team to intervene and analyze the case more closely and educate the employee on insider threats, because the employee has difficulties in understanding the security protocols in the organizations. The results in the paper were presented well. The authors were thoughtful to consider introducing different levels of which they measured their threat risk and presented them in a tabular format. This is one of the strengths of the papers, as it's easy to understand with different tables and figures which are easy to interpret. Applicability of model. The paper being critiqued was published in 2020, which is fairly recent. The proposed module from the paper can pretty much be applied to other organizations. However, the author's solution to the problem is not a one-size-fits-all. Other organizations will have to conduct their own studies first by using the approaches and used in the paper. This, of course, will be time-consuming when you factor in the time to process and analyze data. However, the paper is easy to follow, and other organizations can implement it quite easily. Criticisms. The authors do not go into depth in some of their findings during research. They just present and expect the reader to follow along. One instance is when they presented that 82% of insider crimes were committed by males, but it doesn't give a reason why. When tackling this insider threat problem, such information should be taken into consideration, but instead the authors choose to add the information to and let it influence the model, which can be seen as bias. When the algorithm runs, it will discriminate against male employees. The author's approach adds more options to the solution, adds more options of solutions to the problem. However, it does not. However, it's not a worthwhile approach regarding time, since the approach is not a one-size-fits-all. it's not ideal for different organizations to want to implement their model, as they will have to require some substantial amount of information to be collected from within the organization. Other approaches such as employee monitoring would be appropriate instead of the proposed model. In the paper, the authors stated that humans are the weakest link in organization security protocol. However, the author's solution to the problem does not really consider non-malicious insider threats. Instead of solving the issue, the author seems to aim to predicting the issue. An easy solution for this would be to train employees and make them aware of the problem. Works of presented by the authors are convincingly good approach for the model. Their future approach will require the authors to go through the process again and again recursively, but it will help. It will be a solid step to the future, and also the future work presented will improve the module overall, improve the predictive performance. Avenues for improvement. The author should take a step back from trying to provide a solution that, and they should take a step back and provide a solution that improves on already existing mitigation approaches. For example, currently monitoring employees' activity is one of the best ways to mitigate the risk of insider threats and issues. There are a wide range of technology which can actively track employees' actions. Tackling the insider threat issue from this perspective using technology readily available will be a much better approach. Also, the survey and interviews are not enough source of data gathering. The authors should let the organization collect data using pre-existing ethical employee monitoring tools such as keystrokes logging, and perform data mining and knowledge discovery on the data to be collected by using an algorithm to discover potential insiders. This will let the data collected be as authentic as possible and emulate a better prediction based on actual employee behavior over a period of time. The authors should have presented the questions they asked in the survey, as it will make it easier for others to implement their solution. The paper is well researched and written and presented in an understandable manner. Every aspect of the paper is defined and easy to follow. The proposed model fails to provide a concrete solution to the insider problem, but serves as an option for organizations. The authors, however, seem to be headed in the right direction in their future works, as what they presented was definitely obtainable. Thank you for listening.